Korea breaking the world's lowest fertility rate. South Korea has long been known for its highly educated population and strong work ethic, but in recent years it has also gained notoriety for having the world's lowest fertility rate. For almost a decade, the country has consistently had fewer than one child per woman, well below the replacement level of 2.1 children needed to maintain a stable population. However, recent data shows that there may be some hope for a reversal in this trend. According to a report from the National Statistical Office, the fertility rate in South Korea in 2020 rose to 0.84, up from a record low of 0.84 in 2019. This may not seem like a significant increase, but it is the first time in 6 years that the rate has gone up. This upward trend is expected to continue in the coming years as more young people choose to have children. There are several factors that have contributed to South Korea's low fertility rate. One of the primary reasons is the country's rapidly aging population. South Korea is one of the fastest aging countries in the world, with the proportion of people aged 65 and over expected to reach nearly 40% by 2060. This demographic shift has put a strain on the country's social welfare system and has led to a decrease in the number of young people who are willing to have children. Another major factor is the high cost of raising a child in South Korea. Education is highly valued in the country, and many parents feel pressured to invest heavily in their children's education. This can include private tutoring, after-school programs, and expensive extracurricular activities. In addition, the cost of housing in South Korea is also very high, making it difficult for young families to afford a home that is large enough to accommodate children. Despite these challenges, there are signs that South Korea may be turning the corner on its low fertility rate. The government has implemented a number of policies aimed at encouraging young people to have children, including increasing parental leave and providing subsidies for childcare expenses. In addition, there has been a shift in societal attitudes toward parenting, with more young people expressing a desire to start families. The COVID-19 pandemic has also played a role in changing attitudes toward family life. Many young people who were previously focused on their careers have been forced to slow down and reassess their priorities. This has led some to reconsider their plans for the future and to think more seriously about starting a family. In conclusion, while South Korea still has a long way to go to reach replacement-level fertility, the recent increase in the fertility rate is a positive sign. With continued government support and shifting societal attitudes, it is possible that the country will be able to reverse its demographic decline and ensure a stable population for generations to come. Next newspaper. South Korea has long been known for its low fertility rate. However, in recent years, the country has broken its own record and now has the world's lowest fertility rate. This demographic trend has significant implications for the country's economy, social structure, and political landscape. According to the latest data from the Korean Statistical Information Service, the country's fertility rate was just 0.84 children per woman in 2020. This is a significant drop from the previous year's rate of 0.92 children per woman. This means that on average, each woman in South Korea is having less than one child in her lifetime. A fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman is considered to be the replacement level, meaning that it is the rate at which a population replaces itself from one generation to the next. One of the main reasons for the low fertility rate in South Korea is the high cost of raising a child. Many young couples in the country are struggling to make ends meet, with the cost of living being relatively high compared to other countries in the region. The cost of housing, education, and childcare are particularly high, making it difficult for many couples to afford to have children. Another contributing factor is the changing social attitudes towards marriage and parenthood. Many young people in South Korea are choosing to delay marriage and having children. They are focused on their careers, and are delaying starting a family until they are more financially stable. In addition, there is a growing trend towards living alone or with friends rather than with family members, which can also discourage marriage and childbearing. The low fertility rate has significant implications for South Korea's economy. With fewer children being born, there will be fewer workers in the future to support an aging population. This could lead to a decline in economic growth and increased pressure on the government to provide for the elderly. It could also lead to a shortage of workers in key industries, which could have an impact on the country's competitiveness in the global economy. In addition, the low fertility rate has implications for South Korea's social structure. With fewer children being born, there will be a smaller pool of young people to care for the elderly, which could lead to increased pressure on healthcare and social services. It could also lead to a decline in the sense of community and family values, as fewer people will be part of extended family networks. The government of South Korea has taken steps to address the low fertility rate. In recent years, it has increased support for families with children, including providing financial assistance for childcare and education. It has also introduced policies aimed at encouraging young people to get married and have children, including tax breaks and incentives for employers to provide family-friendly policies. However, these efforts have not yet led to a significant increase in the fertility rate. More needs to be done to address the root causes of the low fertility rate, including the high cost of living and changing social attitudes towards marriage and parenthood. In conclusion, South Korea's low fertility rate is a significant demographic trend that has implications for the country's economy, social structure, and political landscape. While the government has taken steps to address the issue, more needs to be done to ensure that young couples are able to afford to have children and that social attitudes towards marriage and parenthood are more supportive. Only then can South Korea hope to reverse the trend and ensure a sustainable population for the future. Next newspaper. South Korea has been grappling with a low fertility rate for years. But recently the country has hit a new low. It now has the lowest fertility rate in the world. According to data from the United Nations, South Korea's fertility rate fell to just 0.84 children per woman in 2020. A significant drop from 1.05 in 2019. This news is troubling for South Korea, a country that has long prided itself on its strong work ethic, technological innovation, and family values. The low fertility rate could have serious implications for the country's economy, as a shrinking workforce will likely lead to slower economic growth and an aging population will strain the country's social welfare system. So what is causing South Korea's fertility rate to plummet? There are a number of factors at play, including changing social attitudes, economic pressures, and government policies. One major factor is the high cost of living and the intense competition for jobs and housing in South Korea's urban centers. Many young people are delaying marriage and childbearing due to financial concerns, and some are opting out of parenthood altogether. The country's traditional emphasis on education and career success may also be contributing to the low fertility rate, as many young people feel that they cannot afford to start families while they are focused on building their careers. Another factor is the changing role of women in South Korean society. While the country has made significant progress in gender equality in recent years, women still face significant challenges in the workforce and in family life. Many women are choosing to delay marriage and childbearing in order to pursue their careers, or are opting out of parenthood altogether due to the high cost of childcare and the lack of support for working parents. The South Korean government has recognized the seriousness of the country's low fertility rate and has implemented a number of policies aimed at encouraging people to have children. These include financial incentives for couples who have more than one child, expanded childcare services, and increased support for working parents. However, these policies have had limited success so far, and many experts believe that more drastic measures may be needed to reverse the trend. Some have suggested that the government could provide more affordable housing and education, or could offer greater support for working parents, in order to make it easier for young people to start families. Ultimately, South Korea's low fertility rate is a complex problem that will require a multifaceted solution. It is clear that the country cannot afford to continue on its current path, and that urgent action is needed to address this pressing issue. If South Korea can successfully reverse the trend and encourage more people to have children, it will not only ensure the country's long-term economic stability, but will also help to preserve its cherished family values for generations to come. Next newspaper. South Korea. one of the world's most technologically advanced and prosperous countries, has been grappling with a demographic challenge that has been widely documented in recent years. The nation's fertility rate has consistently fallen over the past few decades, and it has now reached a new low. According to recent data from the Korean Statistical Information Service, the country's total fertility rate, TFR, stood at just 0.84 in 2020, the lowest figure recorded since the country began keeping records in 1970. This means that the average woman in South Korea is having less than one child over her lifetime, which is far below the replacement rate of 2.1 children needed to maintain a stable population. South Korea's low fertility rate is the result of a combination of factors, including a rapidly aging population, a high cost of living, long working hours, and a lack of support for working parents. Many young people in South Korea are also delaying marriage and parenthood in favor of education and careers, leading to a significant decline in the number of children born each year. The demographic challenge facing South Korea is not unique, as many other developed countries are also facing declining birth rates and aging populations. However, the speed and extent of South Korea's decline are particularly severe, and it has significant implications for the country's future. A low fertility rate can lead to a shrinking workforce, which can slow down economic growth and put pressure on social welfare systems. It can also lead to a shortage of young people to care for the elderly and provide the next generation of workers and taxpayers. In response to these challenges, the South Korean government has introduced a range of policies aimed at encouraging childbirth and supporting families. These include increasing parental leave, providing childcare subsidies, and expanding public housing for young families. The government has also launched campaigns to promote marriage and parenthood and has allocated more resources to address the issue of low fertility. Despite these efforts, the challenges of low fertility rates are likely to persist for some time, and it remains to be seen whether the government's policies will be enough to reverse the trend. Other factors, such as the high cost of living and long working hours, will also need to be addressed to create an environment where families can thrive. In conclusion, South Korea's low fertility rate is a significant challenge that requires a coordinated response from government, business, and civil society. The country needs to create a more family-friendly environment that supports working parents and provides opportunities for young people to start families. By doing so, South Korea can ensure a brighter future for its citizens and maintain its position as one of the world's leading nations.